good everyone? It's Steve from Sneaker Tech Talk, back with another video today. And for today's video, we're going to take a look at the performance review of the New Balance 2-Way V3. Alright, so starting things off really quickly with the New Balance 2-Way V3. As far as the traction goes, as you can see here, it does kind of have a circular traction here in the forefoot, and then there are 6 more circular portions in the heel. And how this performed on court is, at first it wasn't very squeaky and not the most tacky, but after about an hour I found that this rubber compound did break in and it became very squeaky, very tacky. Even on dirty floors, I will say that you have to wipe, but these gripped extremely well. They did remind me of the V2s, so this was a very enjoyable setup. I will just preface that you do have to kind of break it in for about 30 to 60 minutes, honestly. But after that, these are just insane on court. Honestly, one of the better tractions out right now. I will say as well though, that this rubber compound is very soft, so I would not recommend bringing this outside. But after about 10 hours of use so far in this pair, there really is no fraying or any issues with this traction as far as durability. So as far as the traction goes on the 2-Way V3s, I would have to give these a very solid 8.5 out of 10. So as far as the cushioning goes on the 2-Way V3s, you still have that fuel cell cushioning, as you can see here. And then it is labeled right here, absorb. I believe it's just like the puck in the heel and forefoot, similar to the V2s. And I will mention that this shoe does start out a little more firm, especially in the heel. It does take some time to break in, but after that initial break-in time, it is a joy to play in. It's one of the better foam compounds out right now, but I will just say the forefoot is not as close to the ground. The V2s was like you were on the ground in those. You could feel all of your movements on the court. This is not quite as close, but it does offer a little bit more impact protection in the forefoot. So like I said, it does take some time to break in, but after that initial break-in time, it is great. The heel to toe transition feels very natural as well. As you can see here, it's kind of a flat and stable base. So I really enjoyed the cushion in the 2-Way V3s. But like I said, the 2s still take the cake for me. So as far as the cushioning goes in the 2-Way V3s, I'm gonna have to give these a decent 7 out of 10. So as far as the fit goes in the 2-Way V3s, this is a place where this shoe absolutely shines. It is a very much a 1-to-1 fit. They do fit true to size. I will say, however, they are just a little bit narrow. So if you are a wide footer, I would say go up a half a size and these will have you covered. But there's really no dead space within this shoe. When you put your foot in this shoe, if you get the proper size, I went with my usual 10.5, it fits like a glove. And as you can see here, the upper kind of wraps over the top of your foot. So it's kind of like a burrito wrap. This shoe has a fantastic fit. Honestly, one of the better, if not the best fitting shoes out right now. And it really surprised me because the V2s were decent, but with the V3s, they absolutely took it up a step. So as far as the fit on the 2-Way V3s, I'm gonna have to give these an absolutely great 9.5 out of 10. So as far as the materials go in the New Balance 2-Way V3s, the upper does consist of like a textile mesh on the upper, and then in the back, you kind of have like this felt or synthetic nubuck. So the materials, for me, they're very nice on foot. They're very thin, very soft. There is some fuse here at the toe for toe offs for some extra durability and support at the toe. But overall, I'm really enjoying this setup as far as the materials go. I will mention though that this shoe is just average as far as breathability. It does get kind of hot. I did play one session for 2.5 hours with these, and my foot was pretty soaked in them. But the overall setup, you kind of get some of the old materials and new materials alike. So I'm really enjoying the overall material setup on the 2-Way V3s. And then the tongue as well kind of has that synthetic nubuck at the top. And then moving your way down, it kind of has a screen mesh. So as far as the materials go on the 2-Way V3, it's really nothing special, but they did drop the price point this year by $10. So rather than 190 Canadian last year for the V2s. This year, the V3s are $180. So the price point has dropped and the materials are still great in my opinion. So as far as indoor durability, I don't think you're gonna have any issues with these. If you do take these outdoors, however, like I said, the traction is pretty soft, so I would stay away from that. And the grooves just aren't overly thick as well. And then this material, I think it would hold up pretty good outside, but with the toe offs here, the fuse rand isn't overly thick, so I think you might bite through this upper if you do toe drags outside. But like I mentioned, I enjoyed the setup here on the materials on the two-way V3s. So as far as the materials go, I'm gonna have to give these a pretty solid 8.5 out of 10. As far as the weight goes for the two-way V3s, this is a size 10.5. I went with my true to size, and these come in at 12.95 ounces. So for me, this is a very light basketball shoe. I really enjoyed it on foot. So along with the fit, the support on this basketball shoe is absolutely amazing. In my performance review of the two-way V2s, I did mention some concerns with some lateral support issues when you're making hard lateral cuts, but they fixed all of that and then some here in the two-way V3s. So starting out with the support, it is kind of a mid-cut or almost low-cut basketball shoe here, and that's really not an issue. I'm just mentioning that. As far as the heel counter, you do have a very firm TPU plastic heel counter internally inside the shoe. And then here at the midfoot, they added this plastic midfoot support plate. So on hard lateral cuts, your foot is sitting within this fuel cell midsole and this plate. And I had no issues like I did last year where my foot was spilling over on the V2s. You're not gonna have that issue here on the V3s. And this upper as well is just a little bit more supportive than last year's V2. So the overall setup for support on this shoe is absolutely fantastic. Moving your way to the bottom, you do have a very wide and stable base here in the forefoot, and it is a overall flat setup. So your foot is sitting pretty nice and flat on the ground. And then as far as the torsional rigidity, I believe that there is an internal midfoot shank plate. So coupled with this midfoot shank plate up top, you're not gonna be over torquing your foot at all. There is some nice forefoot flex, but the overall support on this basketball shoe is amazing. One last thing I will mention is this big oversized N here. It does have some eyelets going through the end and it wraps over the top of your foot. So when you really crank these laces down, this N, the way it exaggerates over top of your foot, kind of like a burrito wrap, it really locks your foot in for some great lateral containment. So like I mentioned, the overall support of the shoe is just such an upgrade from last year's V2. So I'm not gonna take credit for it, but New Balance, you did a fantastic job on the support upgrades on the two-way V3s. So as far as the support goes on the New Balance two-way V3s, I'm gonna have to give these an amazing 9.5 out of 10. So I just wanted to do a really quick comparison of the V2s versus the V3s. As far as the overall traction, for me, it's pretty negligible. They're more or less the same as far as tackiness, as far as them being squeaky as well. Like I said though, the two-way V3s did have some break-in time, whereas these didn't right off the bat. They were just amazing right off the bat. So as far as the traction goes, I might have to give the slight edge to the two-way V2s, just being a little more tacky, but both of these models I would steer clear from wearing outdoors, as both of these rubber compounds are pretty soft in my opinion. As far as the cushioning goes, again, I'm gonna have to go with the two-way V2s. I really enjoyed the soft fuel cell here in the heel, especially it's a lot more firm in the V3s, and that absorb, like puck in the heel, was just overly soft. As you can see here, it just offers a ton of absorption in the two-way V2s. And then the forefoot setup, you're basically sitting on the floor. You can feel the floor. There's no impact protection up front. But as far as court feel, this is one of the best shoes I've ever played in for court feel. And then, like I said, the two-way V3s, it takes some time to break in this midsole for this fuel cell. So for me, I'm gonna have to go with the V2s over the V3s, but the V3 does take the cake on everything else. other than the traction and cushioning. So as far as the fit goes on the V2s versus the V3s, I'm gonna have to go with the V3s. The V3 is just such an amazing one-to-one fit. They both fit true to size, and I would actually say the V3s is a little bit more narrow, but there's just no dead space in this shoe at all. This shoe does fit one-to-one as well, but just the support features that this shoe offers makes the fit even better in the V3s versus the V2s. But let me know down in the comments, have you guys played in these shoes and what do you like better? So as far as the materials go on the two-way V2s versus the two-way V3s, in the V2s you have this Fit Weave Light. It's a pretty nice setup. It is very hot on foot. It doesn't offer a ton of breathability. And then at the back of the shoe, you have this really nice suede. So some really nice raw materials, but I still prefer the overall material setup on the V3s. It's just a textile mesh, but it's very thin, very soft, and pretty much no break-in time at all. And it does have that half booty tongue. So it just offers a great fit, great material, great support on the V3s. But I will mention that both of these shoes are pretty hot as far as breathability goes. So as far as the weight goes, the two-way V2s, this is a size 10.5. These come in at 13.35 ounces, whereas the V3s come in at 12.95 ounces. So they did shave off almost half an ounce here in the two-way V3s. So again, as far as the weight goes, the two-way V3 does take the cake. So as far as the support goes, this is a landslide. The two-way V3s is amazing. With the two-way V2s, it does have a pretty rigid internal heel counter, but there's just really no support plate here. So on hard lateral cuts in the shoe, I was having some issues where my foot was just spilling over this shoe way too much, and it just made me a little bit uncomfortable to make those hard cuts while playing. And then I don't believe there's a midfoot shank plate, but if there is, it's not doing the best job because you can literally fold this shoe in half. If you don't need some crazy support features, the two-way V2 will still have you covered because it's still an overall great shoe that you can catch at a great price right now. But for me, my concern was my foot was just spilling over too much with this upper. But on the V3s, I don't know if they took my recommendation because in my performance review of the V2s, I did mention that a midfoot clip here, like a plastic clip, would be great for torsional rigidity and support. And they did add that here. So you have that internal heel counter, the plate, the midfoot shank plate, and then your foot is sitting within this midsole. You have that New Balance N burrito wrap, and then the wide, flat, and stable base here. The V3s is one of the best supportive shoes out right now. So that's going to do it for today's performance review on the New Balance two-way V3. One of the better shoes of the year in my opinion, and this is a shoe that's just going to be staying in my bag long term because it's a very reliable setup. But that's going to do it for today's performance review on the New Balance two-way V3. Let me know down in the comments if you guys have tried these out. Again, if you guys could like, comment, and subscribe, that helps the channel out a ton. And check out my Instagram at 23mj88, as it is an extension of my YouTube channel with all my pickups, basketball footage, and nostalgia as a whole. But until next time, peace.